Hey everyone, and welcome to a live post pay-per-view breakdown of Takeover 31. Um, I am Johnny Takeover, along with Cadillac and Drew McInspire. We got everything laid out and broken down for you. So we're ready to get started. Um, so first we had the North American Championship match, Johnny Gargano against the defending Damian Priest. I just to address the elephant in the room. That whole pay-per-view did not go any way except for the Finn Balor match, like we were just talking about before we got on here. Didn't see that going any which way that it went.
Yeah, that pay-per-view made us sound like we didn't know shit about what we were talking about.
I mean, if you look at our logic, we're not necessarily wrong to think that way, but just when you expect one thing, WWE throws another at you. So,
I mean, you don't really expect a pay-per-view that they've been building for like 4 or 5 weeks and nothing changes at all. Like nothing. Yeah. So it was kind of, we were talking about filler shows before pay-per-views. This was a filler pay-per-view.
Yeah.
They had great matches, but nothing changed.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. They were building this up, but then they dropped that Halloween Havoc Easter egg that's apparently happening on the 28th. So I think they're keeping all the big matches and the big changes for them.
The 12-year-old kid in me, he's like, "Ooh, Halloween Havoc. That's awesome."
Right. When I think of Halloween Havoc, I think of Hollywood Hogan versus Sting, and you know.
Yeah. And I think about Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero when Rey was wearing that full body Phantom suit.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they're saving all their big stuff for the end. For the pay-per-view at the end of this month. Yeah. Even down to the fact of the motorcycle, the motorcycle person they've been teasing. I don't know if we mentioned this on one of the shows or not, but we were thinking maybe it was Charlotte wanting to make a comeback or something.
They threw me off with the blonde fuzzy stuff on the jacket. I thought that was hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, even down to the comeback cameo, we were just wrong all over the place. But that's what happens when you try to predict something that's scripted already.
So, yeah, you try to predict the unpredictable. So
yeah,
you think it's unpredictable. Once you think they got it figured out, they change it. They change it all up.
Yeah. So. But kind of got sidetracked for a little bit. But yeah, so it wasn't necessarily attention grabbing as far as the endings to the matches, but I do think the matches themselves were pretty solid for the most part. Even though Damian Priest retained, I'm not necessarily mad at that. I think Johnny and Candice LeRae, they're talented enough that they don't necessarily need titles to carry them. I think
Priest needed this match to prove that he can hold the title, because out of all of the people that was in that 5-man ladder match, he was the one that everybody was like, why did you put it on him? Like, now he's proven that he can work with Gargano and all the upper top names, and I think he needed that match to prove that. So,
well, before we go any further with the tops, I was reminded I forgot on the last show too. So let's go ahead and let's get it started officially.
Projections.
Yeah. Here's for next time. We won't have like really shitty predictions and prove everything. I mean, we had a 50-50 shot and we were completely wrong on all of them, except for the Finn Balor.
The total, all those projections was just a total kerfuffle.
Yeah, it was a kerfuffle for sure. And we got We got the Finn Balor one right. Yep, there you go. We got the Finn Balor one right, but like I told the guys earlier, Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder would have seen that one coming. So
Yeah. It was a great match, though. But we'll get to that one in a little bit.
But like John said, match quality all the way around was great. Just the outcomes were they were just completely off of what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Not many pay-per-views where you don't see a single title. I mean, you had, 4 titles?
Yeah.
Titles. You had women's, NXT, North American, and the 205, and not a single one of them changes hands. That's weird.
I don't know, man, but they put on a heck of matches whenever they were out there. I agree. Damian Priest needed this, and this was kind of his coming out party. I mean, being 6'7", as big as he is, the way that he moves and does those spinning kicks and all that stuff, it's just...
Especially doing a takeover with Johnny Takeover.
Yeah.
He proved that he could go.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was his coming out party, which I thought either way was going to happen.
Like you said earlier, Chad, I didn't see him winning it when he won it, but
no.
But
he proved he can handle it. He proved that he could handle it now. So
yeah.
So yeah, that was a really nice match. I really liked the way it was all worked out, except for the ending. But like the Razor's Edge, the way Johnny flipped Damian Priest in the beginning of the match on the apron, and the Razor's Edge on the apron, and all that stuff, even down to his finisher off, when Johnny was hanging off the ropes and stuff like that. It was really good. And Damian put a good body of work together for the match. So, you guys got anything else on that?
No, good all around match.
Yeah. So then we'll move on to the Cruiserweight Championship match. Santos Escobar and Isaiah Swerve Scott. This was my introduction to Swerve, and now that I've seen him work and he's impressed me, I will call him by his nickname.
Put some respect on it.
Yeah. The Ritual, RICHUAL. But that all jokes aside, it was a really fantastic match. Escobar is just a revelation to that 205 class. And I was saying earlier before we went live, if it was any other 2 people, I don't see that title coming over to NXT and being on TakeOver, or even just being on NXT period. But those 2 have shown that they can carry a cruiserweight storyline with a cruiserweight championship on a main card playing type of pay-per-view, and really deliver with a heavyweight type of feel to it. Just sometimes I know for me personally, just the cruiserweight, what they are lacking, in my opinion, is like that heavyweight fight feel. They focus so much on the opposite of no flips, just fists. It's the exact opposite. There's no fists, just flip. But then these 2 step into the ring, and they just completely show out. They're fantastic workers. And just like we said earlier today, and like we've been saying on previous shows, this is where you showcase the kickouts of the finishers, like the Phantasm Driver that Escobar uses.
Nobody's ever kicked out of it.
Yeah, they made it a point to address that, saying that no one has ever kicked out of it. And then Swerve just kicked out once, and they didn't go back to that move the rest of the match because they're trying to protect it. and that's how it should be. Use it maybe once or twice, and once being a kick out. But it was really really well put together, in my opinion.
Yeah, they did that match very well. Like you said, if you're going to kick out, only go to the well once. Don't go back to it. That way, when he kicked out, it really meant something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought they did that very well.
Like you're talking, this was the right time to do it. Do it at the pay-per-views, not every single match that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I just can't say enough good things about it. This was our pick for match of the night, and it got pretty close. Granted, the Finn Balor Kyle O'Reilly match that definitely stole the show from start to finish. But this was very close. Yeah.
But like I said, it was going to be either number 1 or number 2.
Yeah. They're just really big name players. And that's saying a lot coming from 205 Live. It's basically, WWE main event just with smaller people. So the fact that they cross over into NXT and bring that heavyweight feel to it, it's a really good matchup. So moving on to Kushida or Marty McFly versus I mean, I guess he's paying tribute to obviously a movie that is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts.
I don't understand. Like, that must have been like the only movie that he ever watched in Japan, because he started doing that when he got to NXT. He never did that at New Japan, so I don't understand. He's like, I'm going to go to the U.S., and people in the U.S. love Back to the Future, so I'm going to be Marty McFly.
Yeah, I mean, they even go so far as to name one of his moves the hoverboard.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
What about Velveteen dressing up like Doc Brown?
That match was surprisingly good. I mean, I know Velveteen and Kushida, they can work, but I just didn't know how well they could tell a story, especially with, like we talked about, that language barrier with people coming over from either Japan or Mexico or something like that.
Yeah.
So the fact that they broke down the language barrier, they just smashed it and told everything with their bodies in the ring. Kushida, you can obviously tell he had frustration, and he was getting tired of his place on the roster. He let a lot of frustration out on Dream. Dream being himself, trying to bring out the best in Kushida. I feel like he took that to the next level. And I mean that from on camera and just from a kayfabe perspective. I feel like Dream really pushed Kushida in that match and set the pace early and often, and forced Kushida to keep up with him. It was a great match for both of those guys. As far as
Kushida showed why. I mean, everybody, when he got to NXT, there's not many people here that have watched New Japan. I watched New Japan. He is a 5-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. He's no slouch.
Yeah.
People just don't realize who he is when he comes over to America. And, he's been working twice as long as Velveteen, but everybody thinks that he's an underdog because Velveteen's the NXT guy. Well, he's been doing this shit in Japan for years, and that I think that was where some of the frustration come. He's, he was a huge star in Japan, and then come over here, and he's like not even mid card. So I think that's what maybe told the story more than anything, because that was some real life frustration, I'm sure, that he had.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, the best storytelling or the best promos have a little hint of truth in them, and you can see that frustration come out in that match. I'm surprised Dream's okay, or I mean, that remains to be seen. I guess we'll see on Wednesday if Dream shows up or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if he. I don't see how you don't get out of that match in those holds that he was in. without some getting banged up in some sort of way.
Torn rotator cuff.
He's like made of rubber or something. I don't know. That is insane. The way he was torqued around and everything like that. Something that they used a lot, the phrase of joint manipulation. They definitely did that. Yeah. And the Dream Valley Driver, I mean, that's the move, like we were talking about, the signature. That's what you kick out of. That's the thing you can throw around with your general skill set and just do it over and over to set up. But I mean, it was really nicely done. I know Kushida kicked out of the Purple Rainmaker, but I'm not necessarily mad at it because it fits into the storytelling of he's just fueled by rage and anger of being passed up and overlooked and frustration and things like that. So I'm okay with that being taken to the next level in that form or fashion. So
yeah.
And then moving on to the NXT Women's Championship match, Io Shirai and Candice LeRae. That was really good. I mean, it was fantastic.
Very physical.
And it just reinforces what we've been saying as far as NXT just has, out of the three promotions that WWE puts out, I mean, excluding 205 and main event and all that stuff, but of the big three promotions that they have, SmackDown, Raw, NXT from top to bottom, the women's division, the mid card, the low card, all that stuff, it is very solid all the way through. And you can look at this match and see that come out in this match. It was very physical. Two ladies that are smaller in stature that you wouldn't expect a lot of firepower from.
Yeah.
It had a lot of firepower in that match. And even the way that Johnny came down there and took the belt and gave it to Candice, and you thought that, I thought the whole time that Candice was going to win.
And just like Wade Barrett said, just because you put on a referee's shirt does not make you a referee, Johnny. Like, what the hell? All he did was look like he just got off a shift at Foot Locker, and then he just ran.
Yeah, right. Just in his underwear.
He ran out there like he was coming back late from break or something.
Yeah, he was late for break. He forgot his pants. Like, dude, I'm glad you're here to sell shoes, but where'd your pants go?
Right. But yeah, they did not disappoint at all. If anything, they exceeded my expectations.
Very good match.
Yeah, very, very good. And then that brings us to the finale, Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly. I don't want to spoil the ending for those that haven't seen the Takeover yet.
Too bad, spoiler alert.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've broken down all the matches, but this kind of leads into next week's NXT and things like that. What happened at the very, very end of it, and I don't want to spoil that surprise for people because it was different.
Match of the night.
Yeah, back focusing on the match instead of what happened after the match, but it was definitely the match of the night. I mean, I know I was getting texts from these guys, and they were just super impressed with it when it was happening. As far as the blood and being and doing all that, I don't know why Finn was coughing up blood.
He caught that knee at the end, and it busted his lip. So right there in the corner, because you could see him grab. Even my wife said something. She goes, "I think that one caught him," and O'Reilly had come up with a knee, and it caught him right there. And I think he bit either his top lip or his bottom lip or his tongue. Maybe may have both bit his tongue, but I think that, of course, that was real blood. He got caught in the jaw or in the mouth somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can suspend someone's belief for even a half second, you've done your job in that ring. And that's what Kyle O'Reilly did for me. I knew he was going to be impressive and having a coming out party in this match. And I knew, he wasn't going to take the belt off of Finn in his first title defense. So I wasn't really expecting, like super big explosions or whatever. But, Kyle, and I've already said this once, but this match exceeded my expectations for it. The liver shots to O'Reilly and the blood that was coming out of his mouth. If you suspended your belief just for a few seconds, you definitely did believe that there were some internal injuries from the body shots that he was taking. The blood helps tell the story instead of carrying the match itself like it does sometimes. Like with Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, or Triple H, they love getting busted open in their matches. So it kind of takes away from that, but this made it more serious. And just the display they put on was just a wrestling clinic. It was fantastic. It had, it had great pro wrestling, but also had jiu-jitsu and
straight up boxing and fighting in general.
Muay Thai, like all that stuff. I mean, they were really
they definitely showcased their skills in different forms throughout the match.
Yeah. Kyle O'Reilly showed off that he is a true black belt in jiu-jitsu, because he's a legit badass.
And like Shawn Michaels said in the interview they had, that he thinks O'Reilly's the best kept secret, and I do think his time will come. It wasn't going to happen tonight with it being Balor's first defense, like y'all said.
Yeah. It's just, I can't say enough good things about it without repeating myself. But
and they did the finish perfectly. He did one coup de grace, 1, 2, 3. That's it. They only had to do one, and that finished up the whole story that they were telling, because they fought so hard that he took one coup de grace and it ended.
Yeah.
So perfect ending to a great match.
Yeah, I mean, even the 1916, like they put that move on display like it was Finn's finisher. Like he kept trying to go to it, but it kept getting countered, and we were like, okay, just do it. Just do the 19. Just get it out there. It's usually how Finn does the drop kick into the turnbuckle to set up the coup de grace. They weren't really touching those things. And which I think is really great in this aspect, because they protect not only the finisher, but they protect some of the big moves that Finn does and Kyle O'Reilly does. And they just showed off their skill set without relying on their finishers to help carry them. They just put on a clinic. I mean, it was fantastic. So just like Shawn Michaels said, Kyle O'Reilly is the best kept secret. I'm excited to see where his career goes from here. I think he needs a little bit of work on the mic as far as finding himself, whether he wants to be a heel or a face, and what they're going to do with Undisputed Era, and things like that. I think having that direction will help bring out his promo skills and all that good stuff. Because right now he seems kind of like a baby face. They both paid respects to each other in the interview on Wednesday. They paid respects at the end of the match, and as we all know, that's not something that heels do. They don't shake hands. They don't do any of that stuff after. I mean, if anything, Finn was showing some like anti-face kind of, jerking his hand away from the referee and things like that. That's something that I've been wanting to see, like, this whole Prince persona is what I've wanted for Finn ever since he got to WWE. He takes himself very seriously. He takes his movesets very seriously. He's not an ultra baby face, but he's just over in general. So he's going to get cheers regardless. I can't say enough good things about the match. It was fantastic. I highly recommend. If you haven't watched Takeover yet, you watch it as soon as you guys are done watching us. And at the very least, just watch that match. It was really, really good. Talking about storytelling from Kushida and Velveteen Dream, these two really told a story too. It was fantastic. And like I said, afterwards, they furthered the Undisputed Era storyline by adding something to it. And, I feel like that'll be addressed on Wednesday and carry into Halloween Havoc and all that stuff. So
we'll see what happens with that on Wednesday, and then we'll catch you back up next Sunday on This Week in Wrestling. So
yeah, exactly. Drew, you got anything else?
Other than what we said, I mean, just a great pay-per-view overall. Really good matches throughout the night.
Yep. Good storytelling. Good night for NXT. I'm excited for Halloween Havoc.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody actually win the belt at Halloween Havoc.
The more I watch NXT, the more I'm loving it out of all the shows, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah. And it was great to see actual people in the audience.
That was cool. I love how they did the actual like fencing that made it look like a backyard kind of underground thing. That was pretty cool. Yeah,
that was really neat. The plexiglass with the chain link fence over top of it, and that played its role in some of the matches. Well, and it's always nice to have that sound effect. Just having that crowd is like that third person in the match. Seeing the crowd stand on their feet and clapping and banging against the plexiglass, and it just adds a dimension. Now, granted, I like the Thunderdome and the TV setup that they have, and that's a very interesting way to adapt, and I like them playing just the cards that they've been dealt.
Yeah.
But you can't replace the feeling that a live crowd's electricity can bring.
Yeah.
So
it
was.
Yeah, that was cool.
I told y'all earlier, I was watching the Chosen One, the Drew McIntyre thing, and he was talking about that his match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, where there was no crowd whatsoever, and he was in the back, and he was like 15 minutes to my match, and I'm just now putting my stuff on, get my boots ready, and he's like, it just felt so weird, and he's like, well, once I got out there, it was just it just clicked, it just turned on for me, and I knew everybody was watching. So yeah, I'm sure it's totally different. You just don't have that adrenaline rush like you
will
would.
Start. It'll start slowly coming back. They'll start like with NXT tonight. They'll put a few of their people in the crowd to get that that environment back, and then they'll slowly start doing like some of these college football games and stuff, going to 20% and getting so many people.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'll get back to normal. We'll get over all this shit, and we'll be back to going to live events again.
Hopefully. Yeah. I know I'm definitely not going to take them for granted anymore. When they come to a close city near me, I'm definitely going to take that opportunity to go to a show, even if it's a house show or something like that.
Yep. That's the same for me and Drew. As soon as we get something close, we're going down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I can't say enough good things about it. Granted, I didn't really agree with some of the outcomes with the titles not changing hands. It did. When you look at it on paper, it looks like it was a wasted night. But if you watch the matches, it really did help further that and propel it to I think Halloween Havoc is where they're going to take it. And
Halloween Havoc should be huge.
yeah.
I mean, it's the first one they brought back since WCW. And, you got Ember Moon back now. So it'll probably be Ember and Io Shirai or some form of that.
Yeah. Talk about hard hitting. Ember Moon doesn't mess around. She's crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty cool when she came.
Plus all the hype with her return. So that should be pretty cool to see unfold. I'm sure we'll see more about that on Wednesday.
There was another one that announced they're coming to NXT. What was?
Oh, Tony Storm.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Gotcha.
The name.
Yeah, she's been at NXT UK for a while. That'll kind of shake it up a little bit too.
Just growing that women's division even more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And they can just pull from it whenever. And that's not even the full scope of it. I mean, we still have Charlotte out, we have Becky out.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like the heart of the big cards for the women's division, they're not even there right now. And they weren't at NXT. Like you didn't have Rhea Ripley. You didn't have her out there. You didn't have
Raquel Gonzalez.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of people missing from the show, and they kept it really clean as far as not a lot of interference throughout the matches. They just made it very decisive, very clean cut, and all that. And they didn't have to get cheap heat. They didn't have to get cheap spots or anything like that to try to draw a crowd in. They did it strictly in the ring. They left it in the ring, and you can say that all around about every match. They just did a phenomenal job.
I did keep looking for somebody to come out in the Finn Balor and O'Reilly. I figured somebody at least come out there and try to.
I think with what the story that they were trying to tell was that both men could do it on their own, and they both had very mutual respect for each other. So I think they did a good job sticking to that storyline.
And which I think leads into a whole nother thing with O'Reilly and Undisputed.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing where it goes from there. Kyle O'Reilly's had his taste of singles main eventing. So we'll see if that helps catapult his career. I, for one, do know the more I hear Wade Barrett commentate, the more I just want him to come back. And I just want to see one wasteland or something, his big, I forgot what he called it, but that elbow shot that he used to give, that one. I'm just.
Wasn't it the Barrett Barrage or something like that?
I don't know. But whenever they first signed Wade, I believe I talked about it on here, but they signed him to a superstar contract instead of like a commentary or something like that. They signed him to a contract that you would normally like sign a wrestler to. I don't know the details of the contract signing, but what they did let us know was it was a superstar contract. So I always have that in the back of my head every time I hear Wade. And he wasn't ringside. If you look closely at the commentators, it's one of the main ones. He was front and center ringside, but Beth Phoenix and Wade Barrett, they were somewhere else. It sounded like they were obviously in the building, but I don't know why they didn't really show them at all. But
I think they were in a studio or something they've got set up off-site.
Yeah. Because I do know they were both absent from Wednesday's NXT. From what they said, they had the night off or whatever that means for commentators. But it was nice having all them back. It was just a nice feel.
Yeah, good overall pay-per-view.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's our breakdown for Takeover 31. We will catch you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Football for our fantasy side that also likes wrestling. We will see you guys tomorrow. And, have a good night. Peace.